it takes a couple weeks.
I definitely want the shaft talk to continue.
We should be talking about working the shaft. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Oh, man.
By the way, this is a golf club conversation we're having right now. Michael, we're in studio with Michael Toy, and Michael, one of the things we do is we just start the audio
whenever it happens,
the podcast version before we start the live stream version, because the people on Facebook don't deserve to be tormented.
The metronome's
really
going off in
awesome that we're
GarageBand.
recording this because when you're talking about whether it's meaningful at all that a bunch of guys are sitting around talking about things, the only thing that makes it redeeming is that we're talking about something really important to the world, like golf clubs.
If there's anything like,
I mean, at this point,
mid-50s men should be talking
people
more
are
about
tweeting
golf
their friends
clubs.
saying, "Oh my gosh, you have got to quit, drop what you're doing."
The sudden insertion of nobility with Michael being here.
Yeah.
To think that I care what other people think about the ridiculousness of 2-3 men sitting in here.
Jumped up.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I guess that should be something that. That's a cute little keyboard, Doug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been using it for well, it's been so long, probably since we've had an in the morning.
Can I ask why you need 2 keyboards?
Yes.
Are you going to answer, or you just say it's okay for you to ask?
He's just.
This keyboard runs the iPad. This keyboard runs the computer.
Doug, they make keyboards that have a switch on them.
I know, but the one that has a switch on it is that one I was just typing on, and that means I have to type on a non-Apple keyboard.
And that just is not a thing that can happen.
And I don't want to.
Well, in fact, you can't, because when you wear the Apple Watch,
it blocks the
it
Bluetooth.
secretes things into your blood that makes you loyal to Apple. So.
It is the conversion is complete.
Yeah,
I am.
It's funny. It scrambles the signal so you can't use non-Apple products.
I am 100%.
Another 5 minutes on that non-Apple keyboard, and he would have started shaking.
Yeah, right. Risk is
the Apple ambulance would have come. They just strapped 100 Apple Watches on him, and
you have no idea how true.
Well, I mean, this is one of those many things. Like, how do you know that, Michael, owner of a 700 Apple product? Well,
ready? In the morning with Doug and John
and Michael.
Nobody
Hey,
told me
everybody,
there would
it's-
be singing.
Hey, everybody, there on Facebook. If you're seeing a different view today, you notice that Michael Toy, poet, and third best-selling inspirational poet in America from 2016.
Yeah, something like that.
From 2016, has joined us in studio in what has been referred to as Two Guys in a Bathroom. Mike from John Music's Facebook friend. Which I
Who's your...
No,
it's our friend, Doug.
It is? It's a mutual friend?
Well, someone commented on the page.
Okay.
You don't have your headphones in. I'm nervous. You like free balling here because Michael's here?
Yeah.
You're showing off?
Yeah, because Michael doesn't have...
Okay, all right.
Michael doesn't have headphones, so I thought, well, let's not do anything that involves
Well, you're like
headphones.
the only pro really here, so you should know how to modulate your voice.
Hey, and I will tell...
It's a good mix.
So that you can
It's a
block
good mix,
out what
yeah.
Doug is saying and listen to something you care about while the show is going on?
Yeah, it's the same thing. He's still here.
Okay.
So I want to start with a statement of acceptance of my responsibility.
Oh, my gosh. What is this?
What is even happening right now?
I don't
because
know.
I've learned a lot about an apology. An apology is the final part of a statement of acceptance of responsibility.
Oh.
And can be followed
I just
by
felt guilty all of a sudden.
commitment to not do that activity again. And only when those conditions have been met is an apology appropriate.
They should teach that somewhere.
It's called crisis management for public figures.
Oh, is
Yes,
it?
they
Okay.
do. And it has changed in the last number of years. It used to be back in the 90s, you start with an apology. And you say, I am sorry. And what we've now realized is when people have been harmed by your bad behavior, people are saying, I don't care about you. I don't care about your feeling of remorse. That is not what I want from you. What I want from you is an acknowledgement of what you have done. Because I've had to live with what you have done, and now I want you to acknowledge the significance of what you've done. And then we will talk about your commitment to not do it again, and only then and thereafter will we engage in any kind of feeling or concern about how you're feeling about it, and if you're sorry or not.
I am on edge here because there's this brief moment of beautiful leaning into the goodness of the world that's just going to be destroyed by the thing you're actually going to apologize for that I can't wait to hear.
I may not even apologize. I may just take acceptance for what I've done. I have been delinquent on making In the Morning with Doug and John happen.
Well,
I acknowledge that it has been me.
Yes.
As I have analyzed why we have not done one of these in weeks, it is my fingerprints that are on this, and I fully acknowledge that to all three of you watching on Facebook Live and to the two of you that listen to the podcast.
That's really great because John showed me some spreadsheets and graphs about whose fault it was.
Yeah,
and he was just like, I don't know if I should show this to Doug or not.
If he has, if he hasn't come to it on his own, will this Venn diagram help?
This is exactly the thing about apologies. That right? You should. Yeah. Having said that, I can make no greater commitment over the next month or 2 months to solve this. So I am telling you now, I don't know that I have it in me for the next 2 months because of Vote Common Good.
So let me just
work.
Rehash this apology. Hey, John.
No.
It's been really bad, and it's just going to continue to be bad.
This
I'm
is
really sorry. It would suck to be you.
I'm going to walk us through this again. Okay. I have not gotten to an apology. This is the thing. I'm taking responsibility. I'm telling you what my commitment toward those actions are again. Only now can I express an apology. So with that realization of what I've done and the commitment that I don't know that I can fix this in the near future, I am remorseful and sorry for not having done a show with you in the last 3 weeks.
I'm sorry for the abuse. It may continue.
But that's exactly what I heard.
And only then.
Then it's on you if you want to bear.
I just want to let you know first how great an apology this is.
It's not an apology.
You should really feel good about this.
This is the whole thing.
This is a really well-formed apology.
It's not an apology. There's 1/3 of it is an apology. And one can only take in the apology once they have. It's just.
You got me stimulated.
I mean, now I don't often do this. Have to go back into the audio and fix it up. Some person's on a cycle bike right now, and their headphones just popped out. So, hey man, sorry I couldn't be here, but I've been really busy. Is that better?
No,
hey man, hey
no.
brah. Hey, partner.
Here's the thing. It's just I have such a reputation of slackitude that anyone who knows us, if this doesn't go off, it's obviously going to be my fault.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, that's my fault that I have that reputation because it's well-earned. But anyway.
Yeah, I have spent 2 weeks earning the reputation of someone who can't get this show done. You, my friend, you have spent the better part of 3 decades laying the foundation for this.
I can't erase this in one moment of responsibility.
I didn't understand I was in the presence of greatness.
and this is why I wanted to make it very clear to you, my friend, that it was me.
Give me awards for not robbing banks.
It was me, not you. And I'm kind of sorry about that.
You know, go ahead and turn Michael up just a little bit in that mix there.
But I will say that Michael Toy being with us today is not only a gift to us, but I'm guessing is a gift to Mike Stavlin.
Yes.
Because someday we're going to get Mike Stavlin, super listener, in this basement, in the Peace Dale Studios, and on this mic. And I got to tell you,
let's make it happen.
When Mike Stavlin rolls in here as a guest, he's taking one of our mics. We're not giving him. We're not giving him the third level B-rate mic that Michael.
I'm
Toy
hearing
has.
that commitment.
Yeah,
Mike Stavlin gets the good mic.
Yeah. It's a real thing. He sent me a note the other day.
Yeah,
that said whatever the key word was for people that listen to the end of the show, and said, "Of course, I listen all the way through the In the Morning with Doug and Johns," and that was like a minute or an hour and 43 minutes.
Yeah,
or that show.
And to be paying attention at that point.
Epic. I think Mike moved on to another house project while he started listening to that, and he completed resurfacing his deck.
Oh man.
Well, hey John, how have you been? How's it? How are things?
Good. I'm a little hungover right now, but
Again?
yeah.
I'm trying to find a day when we can do this show that doesn't include.
Well, it's either I'm like up and I've got to go to work, and so I'm watching the clock, and that's no fun, or it's on a day off, and I'm living life. I'm living my best life.
Yeah, that's really your best.
Yeah.
The best life that leaves you hungover the next morning.
Right.
That's usually your best life.
I've started to get into
a great
scotch
day.
a little bit.
Have you?
Yeah. It's an expensive hobby because it's bottles.
Yeah, but it doesn't take much. I mean, if you do it right,
No,
you
no.
can really enjoy a good scotch.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Set.
Mm-hmm.
The initial investment can be hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
Well, or more.
No. I'm still like in the $50-$60 range.
Yeah, but you want to have 2 or 3 sometimes, right? When you build a set of
yeah.
scotches, have you moved on to this yet?
No, boy. No, I'm at the. I started the 12-year scotch, which is like $50 or something like that. But yeah, any suggestions on any of that stuff? Let us know.
Well, maybe
what's your favorite scotch out there?
Well, maybe as an occasional feature, you could bring a scotch lesson. What you've learned.
This tastes less like gasoline than other liquor does.
Yes, exactly. What is it someone's looking for? What is it that they are that they're doing? Well, so was that the issue last night? You were at home enjoying scotch.
Well, so we're having you both are reminded we're having a housewarming birthday party.
Oh, are the dates already set?
September 15th or something. 2.5 weeks.
Okay.
And so now we're like, oh,
And that's the kind of thing you need to like start drinking for 2 weeks before, because it's going to be so bad.
I'm glad Michael was like, what does this have to do with the other? No, so just a lot of home fixing up kind of stuff. So, you're kind of dirty, sweaty at the end of the day. You just want to not go out and do something. So yeah.
This is something we should tell the listeners about, your address. Like, do you want podcast and Facebook Live listeners to come to your
the
house?
way
because that would be awesome.
The way that would happen is send me a friend request, and I'll send you an invitation to our housewarming.
Hot dog John Music, spelled with a K.
CK.
Yeah. We try not to bring him up anymore. Is he still non grata?
He just
CK?
Apparently, but he just performed.
Yeah,
recently.
he showed up in my feed, and there was all the angst that I would expect would be around that was around it.
Yeah.
don't know.
Is this territory we want to tread into?
I don't know. I just don't know. I'm just wondering: is he in or out? Is he back in? Has he paid his penance according to people?
Well, it's kind of like this. So what he's charged with is masturbating. In front of fellow up and coming comedians,
Which, according to Ted Cruz, is a thing we should not do.
I think that's a death nail, but apparently not. Apparently, it doesn't close the circle.
But there was it's just weird. It's such a weird, pervy thing. Hey, can I masturbate in front of you? Like, what you got to do in your head to get to that point of,
I know.
But he didn't touch them and stuff like that. So it's like, that doesn't make it any better, right? But anyway, so it's been 6 months or whatever since, and he's taken some hits. He's lost his show. He's had development deals canceled and stuff like that. So I guess it's it's really up to the conventional
fandom
wisdom of women. Really, what if he's paid enough.
He wouldn't be the first comedian who's sort of an offensive person in one way or another to continue to make comedy.
Yeah.
So maybe, and then if you're offended by that, you don't listen to his comedy. I just thought, what's the line there?
The line is that he is like a sexual predator. So does he can you come back from that?
Right, but that's up to people who listen to him, not up to...
Or people that partner with him, I think, is where the problem comes in. So it's someone can listen to him, but whoever hosted his show, live show, or puts it out, distributes it, those are the people that are feeling the pressure. That's where the collapse came. People who appreciated Louis C.K.'s humor are still going to listen to him. But would HBO carry him?
Yeah.
It's that, and I think that's a really, I don't want to dive back into it, but I just thought I thought he was out for much longer than this. That's a gutsy move.
Yeah.
to
well,
come back.
And I guess it was a toe in the water. He just, appeared for free at some 200-seat club and did a 15-minute set. And so I guess a judge,
Yeah, but he's doing it. You don't accident. That's not something you stumble onto. That's not like, oh, I saw him at the farmer's market and he sort of went on a riff. That's a thing where you schedule with a person, someone knows about it, and we're able to talk about it right now. That's more than a toe in the water.
And he spent a few hours putting his set together, and practicing in front of a mirror, So you're right. It wasn't like I was going through the Louis C.K.'s through the drive-through at Arby's. So he's like, I think I'll go and stop in and do a set.
I think I'm just going to.
It feels too soon. I would say it feels too soon.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say sure there might be a time when it's not too soon, but
yeah,
I mean,
I'm ashamed.
Al Franken's not running for president,
right? Not yet. Well, it's not 2020 yet. Yeah.
Well, 2020. That's he can come back in 2020.
Is that right? He can come back from his
because I have this hat, and so that's the authority, and it's 2020.
As a white male, it feels uncomfortable not having the authoritarian voice over when this man should come back or not.
Right. Yeah.
It's like it's out of my hands. Like my opinion doesn't matter. So this is so odd. This feeling of not being in control.
Not being in control and listened to on issues that matter. Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, how did we get to that? You were something about CK.
Oh, my last name is ICK.
So for your housewarming, party.
Which we still have no furniture in the house, which I love. I really.
So is the idea come to the housewarming party and bring like a couch or a end table?
All the IKEA furniture will be there, and there'll be tools available for everyone just to jump in and put it all together. For
BYOC, bring your own chair. Hey, connected to this, in my good news of the year, I've hired an executive administrative assistant.
Really?
Yes.
Doug,
I've
seen these people come and go.
To work with
you chew through these people like a
I've never
wood
had
chipper
one.
through balsa wood.
I've never had one, but I've had.
He's never had an executive administrative.
Thank
assistant.
you, Michael.
Did you notice the extra adjective in there?
I've never been an executive before, and I am now.
Okay.
So it means that this phrase, it's a she in this case. She is the administrative assistant to an executive. The executive is a qualifier of to whom, not that she is somehow higher than all the other normal.
Right. It's just that it's just points the direction.
Yeah.
It doesn't detect any kind of hierarchy.
And it's a funny thing because it's like with food. When someone says, "I'm going to have a chicken salad," you're pretty sure there's chicken in it.
Yeah.
When someone says, "I'm going to have a vegan salad," you don't assume such things.
But if John had
There's
an
not a vegan
administrative
in it.
assistant, would it be
I
the
almost spewed all
sidekick?
over your stuff.
If John had an administrative assistant, would it be the sidekick administrative assistant?
You until you are an executive, you cannot have an executive administrative assistant. You just have to have an executive or an administrative assistant.
So tell me this person. Good. I mean,
I think so. She's. It's the 3rd of September today. She's been employed since the 1st of September. And that was a Saturday.
So far, so good.
So far, she's doing a great job.
Right. But she
started on a weekend, and she worked on the week. She actually worked a day before, so I feel great about it.
Still in orientation, so.
But one of her previous jobs was that she had to launch an office here in Minnesota moved from out of the country. So she had to set up get an entire office up and going. And one of the things she had to do there was to secure the furniture, which included IKEA furniture.
Oh, yeah.
And she said, I said, so do you have many of those tools? She said, I know my way around putting IKEA furniture together.
Oh, her and I will have a lot to talk about.
I wanted her to meet you. And so if at some point you need a little, a little partner.
A little coaching on.
There's another one. Because John Music with a K is proficient, and because of your love of IKEA furniture and putting it together, you've helped me on 2 different occasions. When I open that box and a panic attack flows over me because of the drawings that I don't understand,
the
little tools, and you have to follow a particular order. I feel my throat tightening up.
It's wordless instruction too,
and you are just.
I'm not daunted by it at all. I'm like, okay, this is going to be in an hour and a half. This is going to be something. Let's begin with this screw right here.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. You're an enigma around that because other
It's
things
a little
about your
Rain
life,
Man-ish. It's not doesn't really match with my personality.
It doesn't. No.
John, do you ever take something apart so you can have the joy of putting it back together again? I just want to know the level.
That's just it. No, that like when you said that, I'm like, why I don't. I'm not that curious.
Yes. Yeah. That's it. So anyway, super excited about this thing. And
oh yeah, well congratulations.
I'll just give
That's
one
good.
short plug here. 20 minutes in about Vote Common Good. It's really starting to roll. Launches a month from now. I mean, I just feel that weight bearing down. We've been at this for 3 months. At one point, we had a 4-month runway on this. Now we have a 1-month runway, and I just feel the weight. 30 congressional districts, 28 stops around the country, rolling consistently from October 2nd to November 6th. And that doesn't even include getting home from California. All across the country. Anybody listening, votecommongood.com. You should go there or message me. And in any of the places we're going, I need your help very deeply, especially to be volunteers and to show up and get people out to the rallies and events. But lots of people are saying yes to being speakers, presenters. We have musicians. We have Jen, you're going to appreciate this. Michael already knows about it. We have the Apex 2016 mobile stage.
You have to make that noise
Google
every time.
that.
And every time you refer to our Apex 2016 mobile stage, you have to say it like that because it deserves.
That's the heavens, the angels in heaven.
It is glorious. It is a
Really?
stage you pull behind a truck, a pickup truck, a 1-ton pickup truck.
Okay.
But it just looks like a trailer, and then it's got hydraulic things in it, and it transforms. It's like a transformer. It's a
It
transformer.
just opens up into.
Front comes down, roof comes up.
And then at night, it goes out and fights crime after the show.
Incredible. So we're going to roll it into parks. We're going to roll it into church parking lots. We're going to roll it into public spaces. You can set up in less than 30 minutes with 2 men in the Apex 2016 mobile stage. The YouTube video is awesome. The promotional video. It's worth watching.
Apex 2016 couldn't afford the 2018?
Well, yes. Good question. Good question. When I first looked at it, I thought the same thing. I thought, this is the one from 2016. I wonder if there's a newer model. The 2016 is reference to its measurements.
It's 20 feet by 16 feet.
It's treating stages the way obnoxious men treated women back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s.
Sure.
By numbers. 20 feet wide, 16 feet deep. The Apex 2016 mobile stage. You know what makes me think here, Michael? Maybe we should find the guy who did the voiceover for that and see if he would do voiceovers for the tour. He'd be our guy because that man
Vote
is
Common Good mobile tour.
Mobile tour
Coming to a town near you.
He is
It unfolds.
professional. Google it. YouTube that guy.
What's your first stop?
First stop is Allentown / Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Awesome.
And the real trick is, are we
On
going
the
to call
date?
October 2nd?
October 2nd.
And then we roll to someplace else, and then to Raleigh, and then to West Virginia.
This is the guy in charge of the tour. Has no idea where he's going.
I've forgotten the second.
It's
It's in Pennsylvania.
That administrative assistant needs needs to be
Administrative assistant.
Pretty sharp.
yeah.
IKEA professional. But anyway, it's super fun. Michael is in town now because we're starting to stage the vehicles here in Minneapolis for the caravan. Mm-hmm. If you got any time, buddy, let's take in the morning on the road.
All right. Yeah. We'll do that.
Do you get vacation at your big shot job you have now? Big radiology?
No, but if
Trainer?
I need time off, I just take it off, Doug, as
Really?
Yeah, as a salaried employee. I just say I need these days off, and I just take those days off.
Do you have? Wow, look! I mean, can you believe it?
I just can't believe the words are falling out of my mouth. Seriously.
Do you have to fill out a form and send it to HR?
Nope. I'll send a Skype message to my manager.
Well, we roll into Minneapolis October 10th. October 11th, we make our way to Sioux City, Iowa.
Okay, I'm not be going there for that.
The 12th,
We'll take days off for Sioux City.
No, it's for the tour. It doesn't matter where you are. Then we go to Des Moines, and then we go to
Doesn't matter
Omaha,
where you are.
and then we go to Kansas City. I mean, the location's not going to matter. It's who you're with. You're in this merry band of vote common do-gooders that are minstrelling across the country to save democracy.
Look, if
You
I
don't
got
say I don't want to go to Sioux City.
Look, if I got a choice between like Key West or like Sioux Falls, what do you think I'm going to choose?
Well,
no offense to those.
John is not caring about the merry band. He's like, oh, it's Doug's going to be there, or whatever. Is it going to be someplace interesting that I want to be?
Yes. What if you were in Sioux Falls with Robin, and you were in Key West with your mom?
Oh shit!
That's
really not even.
Really not.
You just can't answer that on the radio. You don't want the answer
You
to
would
that
choose
recorded.
both, of course. But in your heart, you'd say, "I'd be in Sioux Falls with Robin any day." You'd be in Sioux City with the Vote Common Good tour.
But I get that.
Okay,
I could do that. But if the Common Good people are going to be someplace, nicer.
I see what you're saying.
I can have that. I'm going to have the people wherever.
Yeah, that's
I'm
a good
with
point.
you.
Okay, good point. Good point.
What is the setting?
La
that
Cruces,
set?
La Cruces, New Mexico. How about that?
Olay, I love it.
Well, we're not going to Key West any longer. We were at one point, but we had to cut.
I just made that up.
Well, we were on the.
You were going to drive all the way, whole
because we were starting in Bangor, Maine at one point for this. We were
But Brian couldn't get up enough money down there to get
yeah, that's right. Florida's running a little thin. Then we were going to go down to Key West,
some political action,
and
there.
we were also going to make it to San Diego. We were going to touch 3 corners of the country. It was part of our plan when we had this as a 2-month arc. But anyway, we're not anymore. So that's out. The reason I bring it up is, and this is what listeners should consider, is when we come into or around your town, hook up with us then and go for 2 or 3 stops. So the reason I brought it up from Minneapolis is you're already here.
Yeah.
You just point your car south in the caravan that's growing longer and longer. It's in my mind, it feels like an episode or a scene right out of that movie Convoy. And the song Convoy. Remember that from the 70s?
Sure do.
We're going to roll this trucking convoy across the USA. So that's why I was suggesting it, that a bunch of Minneapolitans and Minnesotans.
Is that how you describe yourselves, as Minneapolitans, like an ice cream or something?
If you're from Minneapolis, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and a Minnesotan if you're from Minnesota.
What's someone from St. Paul? St. Paulitan? We don't speak of them?
Second ring suburb of Minneapolis.
People that want to move to Minneapolisites? I don't know what you'd call
lower.
Your
a
twin,
St. Paulian.
Your twin
Maybe a
in the
St.
Twin
Paulian.
Cities just does not get any respect. I just didn't know this.
Well, as with all twins, they're not equal, even if they're identical, right? Doesn't everybody know that if you've ever been friends with a twin, they're like internally we know there's a.
And they're cool.
That's the whole purpose of
there's
twinning.
There's a certain charm to St. Paul that that Minneapolis some parts of Minneapolis will never have, and we're aware of that.
Wow, this guy is
How
turned corporate.
magnanimous am I here?
There's the corporate John music again.
Fuck those St. Paul people.
Who cares? Why do you live there? If you can afford to live in St. Paul, move somewhere else. No, St. Paul's a great city. Hey, did you go to the fair?
I did not. I did not. I wanted to, but
it's today. This is our last shot.
It's the last.
If we
day.
don't do it now, we have to wait till next year.
Yeah.
And honestly, why we didn't do this show from the fair is that is I'll own that one too. Even though you could have come up with that idea,
I know.
But that's the kind of idea I would come up with, and I know that's on my plate.
Well, just you and I like at a park bench with our cell phones.
No. It's because next year, if he's going to buy an Apex 2016 mobile stage. And then you can pull that thing up to the fair and do the show from the Apex 2016 mobile stage.
Right outside the.
Well, I didn't know you were going to have the
gates.
mobile command center.
Well, we just.
What is it in stripes? The urban assault vehicle.
Urban assault vehicle. Oh, that's great.
Podcast assault vehicle.
The fact that we didn't pull this up with our mics at the fair. That is.
So I've been hanging around
a casualty.
people in Minnesota for a couple days, and I cannot tell you how many people were excited about the news that there were more people at the fair this year than have ever been at the fair before.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal because this is just mysterious to me. Like, what if there were 3 people or 18 people or 256,000 people?
I don't know why.
Is it just like, I think we're gradually getting dumber. More of us are going to the fair,
Yeah,
or
for some
I think
reason,
we're gradually getting hungrier for
I
chicken
don't know,
on a
but
stick.
every year it comes up. I fall prey to it as well. I don't care about the fair. I don't go to the fair. But when I hear that we've set a record on a given day, somehow it feels like a success. No idea why. I
think
about that.
I think it's the dream of being Minnesotan is still alive and it's thriving because we are all coming together in this kind of defining activity.
And there's more of us now that are part
it's
of
not declining. It's not in like how some things are in other places. It's
right.
The really great thing for you guys, you get to enjoy that, and you don't have to go to the fair.
Yeah, we are not Detroit.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I've always had a good time. I like the llamas. They have llamas there.
On a stick?
No. Oh, geez, no.
Oh,
Like walking
what do you
around.
mean I like the llamas?
You watch llamas.
They have a competition.
Geez, I thought you were suggesting that there were.
No,
how they have alligator on a stick and chicken on a stick and cow on a stick. I thought they had upped this to llamas on a stick.
Well, maybe at the end of the fair, like they might have llama on a stick. Like if some of the llamas didn't make it.
So
9:45 tonight, just before closing.
You have to haul that thing back.
it's like Burning Man. It's Burning Llama. Just the end. They set the llamas on fire.
Yeah, they're incredible. Incredible and very mean animals.
They are mean animals, and they snort, and they're exotic looking. So I think they get a lot of
probably more.
People feel like and it's fun. It's a fun word to say, and it has 2 L's. And I don't know, as with the name Paget, I don't know which letter is silent, and I just want to know which one I'm pronouncing. Am I pausing and then saying the T, or am I leaving the second one silent?
Well, just think if you're French, how do you llama? There's a lot of L's in there.
Hey, I remember a couple of years ago when we had the radio show, the religious radio. That's not quite
you
right,
had the
AM
radio
950.
show.
And
I was
you
just a sidekick
and
on
you
the
were
radio
sidekick.
show, which you pointed out every episode.
Well, it was your role. It was a. Did that hurt your feelings?
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I didn't think you did. Remember when we went to the fair? Were you there when we did the fair edition?
I was extremely drunk at the fair.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
Twice. I think there were 2 years. I remember one time sitting in the pancake place with Tony, drinking coffee with an egg in it.
Yeah.
And just you weren't hungover
I
at
was
the fair.
still intoxicated
still
from the night
elevated.
before. Well, this is not really sounding good
those
for
were
me.
Those were the tough days. But do you remember when we did communion on a stick? Were you there that year?
No,
That is
I couldn't,
awesome.
I couldn't be there. The episode that
I
we
think
had
that's
it.
right. Yeah, I think there were two episodes, but
So it's like a grape juice popsicle and
well,
That was
yes.
one try.
So we came up with this idea: how could we do communion on a stick? And in a lot of churches, especially Baptist churches, instead of having a common cup you drink out of, they make little communion cups,
Right.
the
And so
little
you
small
Yeah,
ones.
freeze those.
communion.
So we came up with, John and I, how would we do this? And we filled the little cup and put a stick in it.
Yep.
When it just got slushy enough, so it stood up. Put it back in the freezer. I mean, this took days. And then on the other end, we cut a little piece of bread and put the bread in there, and then brought it in a cooler. So you'd hold the stick in the middle, and on the one side, you'd pull off the plastic, so you had in the shape of a communion cup, the frozen communion. And we offered people communion on a stick at
that
the fair.
is brilliant.
It was one of the great ideas.
Yeah.
And the pushback, especially from people from traditions where communion is sacramental.
Yeah, it was.
It felt like you were mocking them. I wonder where they got that idea.
It did feel like we were mocking them.
your glee over it, I think, is what.
Even now.
Yeah.
I'm just
a little too proud of yourself.
Oh, it was so great because it's. I mean, something like that is meaningful to someone. I come from the
Because at the
perspective.
Minnesota State Fair, all food comes in the form on a stick.
Yeah.
or at least that's the myth.
That's the
Yeah,
myth,
that's
right.
if you can get something on a stick. And
You can
sell it
get
at the
macaroni
fair.
and cheese on a stick at
Yes.
the State Fair. So,
Right. So it's real, and often dipped in chocolate and these other things. So that's a
and our communion was not stepped on like that. It was not dipped in chocolate or anything.
No, it was not, and it was not mocked at all. We talked about communion the way I would normally talk about communion,
Which I
but
guess
it was,
probably
But the fact that
smells of mockery when you talk about it.
Can I tell my favorite Doug Paget communion story?
because this sets up how people feel about communion.
So I was in Memphis at an event that Doug was doing, and he was graciously invited to speak at a large, very traditional church the next day.
Well, let's be clear. It was not only was it an Episcopal church, it was the Episcopal Cathedral in Memphis. And in Episcopal lingo, that means that's the place where the bishop offices and resides.
I'm picturing a Far Side cartoon with it says trouble brewing.
Yeah,
and so
as ornate and big steepled brick. I mean, if you saw John McCain's funeral the other day, that's at the National Cathedral.
Yeah.
Many of them look just like that.
And so, if you're going to go to speak in one of those things, you are required to wear robes.
Oh, right.
And so I am watching Doug Padgett speak in his Doug Padgett way in robes, which is just mind-bending.
Yeah.
Big white
Like, what is
robe.
even happening right now? And then they do communion. In communion, they offered Doug the chance to be one of the people distributing communion. And so he's standing there in his robe doing that, and I'm like, oh, I'm so getting in line.
And
with
this
Doug.
is a place where you don't get it in a little cup where it gets passed along person to person. You line up, you come down, and
because
I'm
it can
holding...
only be distributed by the person who's authorized, because it's a sacrament. And and so I get to Doug, and he says,
Instead of saying, may the peace of Christ be with you.
He says, "This is the body and blood of Christ. We will never speak of this again." And I have been saving that moment for the right moment, and this is it. Oh, I am so happy right now.
So
That is awesome.
I did my duty and did fine, and I think people were encouraged by their communion experience.
that
but I was
reminds
just
me,
like,
Doug.
I want out of this robe. I don't want to be holding this cup.
Of the first times I met you, I just met you, and you were having a party, I think, for your first book, or maybe
Okay.
your second book, the one with the blue, white, and red. I don't know. There's like 1,000 of them in the next room.
Christianity Worth Believing, maybe.
It was more about the community.
Okay, yeah. Church Reimagined.
Yeah. Anyway, so
Reimagining
you have a party, a book signing party.
Yeah, I remember.
And so this was just right when I think we first start to share buildings with you.
Yes.
And
Your church when you were
Yes,
a pastor.
right.
back
And
when-
so I get
when
a book.
faith flowed through your veins.
which is occluded with cynicism now.
Yeah.
Anyway, you signed the book.
Yeah.
And it just, hey, will you sign the book? And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, yeah, sure. And you sign it. And I take it, I walk away, and I open the book.
Yeah.
And you said, thanks for the wonderful weekend.
That was during that period of time when I'd go on book tours, especially when there were the audience for a lot of my work tend to be older church people. So there were older church women, and I would say to them, "Hey, are you married?" I'd sort of flirt with the elderly women at the churches, and when they would say yes, I'd say, "Does your husband have a sense of humor?" And they almost always would say yes. So I would write that in the book.
Oh, my
Hey,
gosh.
and then I wrote a little thing about it. Hey, Gladys, thanks for the wonderful weekend. Because very often these were weekend events that we were together.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And they would giggle, much like that.
Again, I'm sure like people listening to this are like, this is just such inane conversation.
So signing a book
It's a morning show.
It's really uncomfortable.
You probably had to do that for your poetry
Just-
book.
just
huh?
yesterday
Poetry
he
book,
did.
I had to sign a book. And I would love people to have my book. That just makes me unbelievably happy. And then they want me to sign it, and I feel like, oh, yes, I'm an author. I want you to recognize me an author. And as soon as you ask me to sign it, I'm like, oh, no, I'm not an author. I don't want to sign a book.
I know.
And you have to somehow bridge that. And so putting humor in the thing that you sign is the thing that makes it work. It's like, okay, I can sign this in a funny way and mock myself for pretending I'm an author.
Totally.
Well, just
I can't say words.
Just
pretending I am an
last
author.
week, Michael, I unearthed my copy of your book, and I was like,
Is that Blame It on the Way Tanango?
yes, that
The fourth best-selling religious and inspirational poetry in America.
is
Available on
that-
Amazon.com.
that's available on Amazon.
Yeah.
How do you spell Huey Candango?
It's H-E-U-H or Huehuetenango. Way Tanango. It's a region in Guatemala.
Yes.
or
where
look, or
they
just look
grow
for
coffee.
the Michael Toy book that was the fourth best-selling inspirational poetry book of that year.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was like, yes, I got the book. It's in the box. I got it.
because you moved and
Yeah, right.
you're making your way through
Have you
your
ever
past.
in your life opened that book?
Oh, but hundreds and hundreds of times. Seriously.
I was totally expecting the other answer.
No,
And it's a poetry book, and I will say this is a poetry book that breaks the norm because often people don't open poetry books hundreds of times.
Well, I have found myself.
Were you storing money in there?
Oh, wait a
Were you,
minute.
like
I have one
hiding
more
$50
question
bills
about the
in there?
opening of this poetry book. Is the reason you've opened this poetry book is because it was in Doug Padgett's bathroom, the only thing that there was available to read for a couple of years?
That's true. I did.
No,
know
it was.
I know it was there.
It was in my bathroom, and I must say that there's been times when I have sat longer than I intended because I was moving on to another piece of poetry.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I thank you.
Kind of like sitting in your driveway, finishing listening to some Ira Glass thing.
Or drive time radio show
or
that you've downloaded to podcast, or a morning show.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, let's return to the news.
Okay.
Anything happening in the news on your
Oh,
front?
but there's so much, Doug. I mean, this morning I was a little too intoxicated doing research last night. I have to
Okay.
admit.
That's what we're calling it now, research.
Yeah.
Well, we do. We spend 6 minutes of research in preparation for this show to come up with articles.
Hey, sometimes I put in a full 12, but
Well, you have to cut audio in from YouTube. Remember that? Isolated voices.
so what do you got there?
Oh,
Dukeless.
well, here's a headline that is important to me because I was a kid who grew up with eczema.
Oh God, you people.
Yeah. Did you ever have eczema?
No, but your commercials are all over. There must have been some sort of breakthrough.
There must have been a breakthrough because I'll tell you, back in 1969 to 1979,
We could walk on the moon, but we couldn't fix eczema.
when I was 3 to 13, eczema was unsolvable. And the best thing that my dermatologist, I'm having a flashback right now to having to meet with this guy, he would prescribe this acid cream.
Oh, great.
And it would
Like
burn.
if they burn all the skin off, then it can't flake off because we've already taken it all off already.
I was a kid. I don't know what
Hopefully
the theory
The
was.
label on the tube said acid cream.
It said acid cream because they had to use this kind of phrase, and it wasn't like acid from the hippies. This was like, in that period of time, this was like a torture chamber that was supposed to help you. And I had it on my feet, particularly.
Really?
Big cracks, and my mom, sweet mom, would have to put this on my feet at night, and I would writhe in pain while she'd put it on. And then they thought,
I don't know what that's like to have a mother tenderly care.
Why do people not trust Western medicine? It's just, it's just a mystery.
It seems to work.
Yeah.
Why would you trust acid cream?
Then the
Seems
theory
like-
was that you wanted to keep that acid cream from rubbing off, so you'd put a baggie, like saran wrap thing around your foot. So she'd have to put this cream on and then put a baggie around my foot so it would be getting hot. I mean, the trauma of this for years as a kid, and it would bleed. Oh, anybody that's had eczema anywhere in their body, often people get it behind their ears, which is bad. But man, on your feet, you're stepping on it all the time. My feet would bleed at the pool. Anyway, people are probably gagging right now. The look on their face
No,
you're having right
they
now.
all clicked off about
Yeah, can't get because that's what happens to our very deep pain. People just avoid it.
No, they clicked off because they're bored of this eczema talk. Jesus Christ. All right, you had hurting feet. What happened?
Well, according to this headline, eczema is an annoying, itchy disease which doesn't even get at it. But bacteria from someone else's skin might be what tames it. That rather than going the route of chemicals and acid, apparently they find bacterium that's in other people's skin that prevents eczema from taking off, because one of the any skin conditions are normally some imbalance in a bacterium on your skin. So getting other people's bacterium on your skin is what tames it. So maybe the children of the future will not have to suffer in the way that those of us of a particular
I am just
generation
shocked,
did.
given the way that you talk about these important issues like skin bacteria, that more people don't listen to this show.
Well,
My mind is.
Well, that sounded downright mean,
Hey,
Michael.
well, it is-
that cut right to the heart.
as I'm looking at your complexion of a 16-year-old, it's really hard to
know.
imagine that.
I know.
No, it's good.
Oh, you think I thought you were saying that because I had a zit the other day on the side of my mouth.
There's a couple little blemishes there, but
And I thought
Doug, your skin is so smooth, man.
If at age 52 I knew that I was going to be getting a zit like I was 15, I wouldn't have made it out of my teenage years.
Yeah.
It's
kind of like getting a boner in the doctor's office when you're 50. Like, if I knew that this was going to happen.
No, but it is weird that we think of ourselves as a human entity, but that just our personal functioning is a system of creatures, right?
Yes.
It's not just us.
You mean bacterium and viruses?
The thing that makes up us is this really complex,
a living community of grossness.
Well, it's kind of like we have to protect ourselves from each other, from our germs, and and sexually transmitted things.
No, no, some of us don't.
Some of us do need to protect ourselves from that. But so the interesting that you need someone else's.
Surprised anyone listens to this when you talk about your venereal diseases.
I don't have any venereal diseases.
Okay.
Eczema foot.
That's just.
But you need someone else's bacteria.
My pain.
It's. Oh, what, you want to feel some pain?
Yeah.
Listen to this segue.
Okay.
It's just like the fecal replacement.
Oh.
Yes. When they have to shoot someone else's poo up your bung to
Why?
Because you've got some sort of. Because you've got some sort of intestinal thing where.
But again, it's the bacterium, right? They need to get the bacterium in to save you.
Yeah,
that's only carried in fecal matter.
Could you imagine being like
incredible.
patient number 3 on that? Hey, we've come up with this new procedure, Doug.
Okay,
so
here's a theory. What if one of the reasons we're so afraid of all of this is because ultimately humans have a self-destructive tendency about us, and we know that in bacterium and fecal matter that ultimately that's where our salvation is. And we live in this self-harming kind of human pattern. And so that's why we make taboo these kinds of topics.
But if you talked about blood transfusion, I wouldn't feel like I needed to leave the room.
That is true.
I would think, you can save me with blood. But if you wanted to save me with shit.
But bloodletting maybe would make you...
See, you can't feel the blood flowing through your system, but you can feel... other things flowing out.
I think you're probably right. I think there is no theory of our. I think we just think
it comes down
poo
to
and bacterium is gross.
Freudian orifice issues.
Well, I do think human beings live with a very strange sense of causing our own demise. I mean, human beings, as far as I know, as far as the animals go, are the only ones that regularly act in ways that are detrimental to our own well-being.
Yeah.
Right. Human beings do it all the time. All of us. Every one of us.
You don't see chimpanzees like running into a river.
Yes. Yes. Harm, self-harm, even suicide. Apparently, in some apes, I guess, is a thing that happens. But in most other animals, that doesn't happen. And other actions of self-harm. There's something about the human condition that self-harm is writhing through us.
And I'll just say, with all honesty, and just from the bottom of my heart, I would donate my
people are already bored, John.
My poo to either one of you.
Well,
if you need just to stop your tummy aches, I would do that.
Well, the self-harm thing is kind of enlightening. I mean, the whole political situation now makes more sense.
See, this is why we tolerate this. Because we believe that it's okay that we're treated like this. The American psyche in 2016 and for Republicans in 2018 is still, we don't deserve any better than this. That's why you need a preacher to come around and tell you.
No, what it is
you
to be,
deserve better than this.
What it is to be human is to war with that and win. Not to experience it and give into it.
And you deserve better than this, John. Hey, speaking of that, I have my tips for you.
You just touched my dong.
No, I touched your leg.
Maybe he's got a long extension.
He's seen me naked. He knows how long it is.
Yeah, you're fine. I come up with tips that I like to suggest for your well-being, which are really a way to speak to myself. Like all therapists know, you're not just treating your patients.
Doug, okay, you're a bit smarter than me, and so I know what you're doing. You say you're doing it for yourself, but it's still just a way to like, dude, you really need to work on some
all right,
things.
So here it is. One of Oprah Winfrey's, you know who that is? One of Oprah Winfrey's.
That's Mr. and Mrs. Winfrey's little daughter, Oprah. You know her.
Yeah. Oh,
she's all grown up now.
Oh, that's right.
And has her
she's
own
done pretty good.
empire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, she has a favorite thought leader. And this thought leader says there are only 3 questions that you need to ask yourself in order to be successful.
Well, let's count them off. 1. Question 1.
Question 1 is, what makes you come alive? This is so Oprah. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's very
So
Enneagram.
hold that thought. What that
The
is.
first thing you should ask yourself is, quote, everyone has that sense when they're either involved in doing certain things or doing something with other people that they just feel like they can do it. When do you feel like I can do this thing? This is a me thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I know many weeks I come up with these listlies. Sometimes they're very long about how you can improve your life. Mm-hmm. This is boiling it down to the 3. What makes you come alive?
Yeah. Are you asking
No,
that?
I don't know if I'm asking.
All right,
I don't want to put you on the spot.
No,
but
that's
did something
what
come
are these,
to
like,
mind?
Tips for Geminis?
What makes you come alive?
That's question number 1. All right. Question
number two. I don't appreciate this the language she uses here in this headline, but what pisses you off? Really?
I tell you what makes John come alive.
Oh, my ears are
Being angry at people.
Yeah.
Because when he said what pisses him off, like John...
He lit up.
Yeah, he did.
He lit up in red.
So that's both 1 and 2 are the same thing for John.
Man, boy.
This is a different frame of the similar question, but you need to ask yourself, she writes, what makes you go, why is it like this? There is some type of emotion in you that's getting triggered.
I must right this injustice.
Yes. What is it that seems wrong to you? Mm-hmm. Speaking of the word pisses you off, just to speak about the overall degradation of our societal norms.
And get back to bodily excretions, which we just can't get away from.
Which we can't get away from.
Which 2 guys in a
Okay,
bathroom.
okay. I've two pissed stories, pissed phrase stories. One involves Michael Toy. But I'll first tell the one that involves Amy Klobuchar.
I love that you have rivaling piss stories that you just can't.
I can't separate them.
They just both gotta be.
I got to tell you both of them.
Right.
One was yesterday. I was watching Meet the Press, as I like to do on Sundays, and I like to record it so I can skip the commercials. That's how I indulge myself.
Oh boy, that's a baller move.
The senior senator from Minnesota, Amy Klobuchar, was a guest. She's clearly running for president and clearly did not respond to my desire to speak with her when we did a sit-in at her office the other day, so I'm holding that against her till now.
Wise woman, but go ahead. Yeah.
But she was on Meet the Press and was being asked about why the world isn't more like the world that John McCain wanted to have, which has just become intolerable to me in the news cycle. Couldn't care less about the world that John McCain wants. Yeah, who cares? Who cares? He had his chance. He didn't do it, and he didn't stop Donald Trump even in his dying days, and I will hold it against him until I stop thinking about it. But
holy harshness.
Yeah, right. I mean, you get credit for everything else, but at the very last minute,
do better. Brain cancer. Army veteran.
Okay, well, he did manage to put together an entire...
I think he's in the Navy, actually.
An entire funeral and process for how he was going to be cheered on in his final weeks. He managed that, and he couldn't manage stopping the Senate as a senior senator in the party in power until he demanded the release of Donald Trump's tax returns, which is in the control of every Republican senator. They can shut it all down until they get it. He knew it and chose not to do it. He could have stopped Donald Trump on so many levels, didn't do it. God bless you for anything else you did.
Yeah.
When you were bombing people in Vietnam.
Whoa.
But
this, easy.
Easy. Yeah, no, I'm not going to go easy on the guy. Okay, but anyway.
You can't go easy on any Republican because...
No.
Because they're even the most maverick. If you're still a Republican, you're beholden to.
Yeah, he bowed his knee to the Republican president and only would move himself to stop the demise of Obamacare. You don't get a ribbon for your final 3 years. You might get a ribbon for your final 78 or for your first 78. Been an abject failure in this Congress.
Well,
hang on, I got to climb off my high horse here for a minute.
In that way, every Republican senator,
every one
has
of them,
that same
yes,
culpability.
yeah, every one of them, and you don't get to toot their horn in the last. But they were asking about why the world can't be more like the world that John McCain wanted, where he bows his knee to Donald Trump's whims. And Amy Klobuchar, who's a senator from the Democratic Party,
from the great state of Minnesota,
said something along the lines of, I know there's things that each party does that kind of pisses the other side off. But she used the phrase pisses them off, which seems to me, and even in this article, what pisses you off, that's the kind of phrase as a kid that when I would say that to even like parents that were not overly prudish, that was like, crass.
It was yeah.
Right. So and now to see it in an article about Oprah's person, how have we gotten to the place where the senior senator from Minnesota uses that on as a reference to, I know there's things that frustrate you, like we've just brought it down to pisses you off. I like a moratorium on pisses you off.
I remember
right after the next story. Is that what you're saying?
Well, this is where it comes from.
I heard that word first
story.
used acceptably as a youth pastor, and the kids and youth group would use that, and their parents wouldn't care. So, because it's in the Bible or something like that.
Oh,
I don't know.
So
I'm with you though.
You wouldn't know what's in the Bible being a pastor.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
there's some words there.
Maybe that's why you quit.
Yeah.
Should spend a little more time in the Word, brother.
Memorizing's hard.
Hey, some number of years ago, Michael Toy and I...
Is this piss story number 2?
Piss story number 2. We're in London.
There was no real urine in that story, so I kind of feel like you led us astray.
Well, that's what I mean. It's the phrase pisses and pissed. So we're in London. Do you remember this? We're on the Tube, which is their version of the subway. It's later at night. We are in the subway we're traveling with backpacks. And I think I had my backpack still on my back, which is a faux pas in the subway. You take it off and put it down by your feet so you're not, turtling people while you're hitting them. We had a little run-in with a couple of drunk Londoners. Do you remember this story?
I obviously have blocked it out.
It's getting intense in the subway.
So with you and some scallies?
Yes. And
some
because
shavs?
we have the backpacks on and it's Mark, there's 4 or 5 of us in this thing. We're crammed in. And we sort of have this run-in with these guys.
We're all doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, and we're clumsily making our way. And these guys can have some words with us. And then one of them says to me something about, oh, don't worry about it. I'm just really pissed. And I'm like, okay. And that starts to rile me up. Right? Mark Scandrett leans in and says,
Whoa.
Yeah. Pissed means drunk.
Right.
So here the guy was saying, I'm just
You're
really
pissed. Let me show you pissed.
We were like 3 seconds away from that moment.
Totally. From me misunderstanding that meant... So maybe I've got some hang-ups around the use of the word piss.
Yeah.
That in London lingo, it means intoxicated, or what you call a Sunday night at John Music's house.
Well, there's also the taking the piss out of someone, which means to insult them or to bring them down if you think they think a little bit too highly of themselves. Yes.
Boy, this pissed is a it's a very rich term.
Supposed to be like,
society.
he's all full of piss and vinegar. Ever heard of that?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Wow, there's a Wikipedia article in the making right there.
And I want to stay away from that guy because he smells awful.
All right. So, what makes you happy? I'm sorry. What makes you come alive?
What makes you
Boy,
pissed
there's
off?
Freudian slip.
Yeah.
I looked at you and I thought, what makes you happy? That's all I worry about. What makes you come alive, John? What is it that pisses you off, including the overuse of the word pissed?
Yeah.
This is the real one. This is the moneymaker. This is why this person is Oprah Winfrey's
thought leader.
Thought leader. What scares the shit out of you? Now, I'll tell you, in the article, when they write shit, they put a dash instead of an I, as if somehow the word seeing the letters is where the power is, as opposed to you filling in the dash with an I. See what scares the shot out of you? Thank you.
Yeah, there could be a 6-year-old reading the article and, Mommy, what's this word? Oh, never mind, honey.
Well, if a 6-year-old looks at that article at that word and sees a dash in the middle of the word, what's dash to? That raises the question all the more. But what scares the shit out of you is what she says, and she's a very crass person apparently for Oprah's crowd.
Dirty thought leader.
And she says, "Is there some career or activity like writing, music, starting a company, whatever it is, that the notion of doing it frightens you? If you can find that, you know it is something worth pursuing. That fear is really a sense of intuition."
It's, I was going to say
yes,
bold, but I was like, we need to stop using these. I strongly disagree with
you
that
do.
question.
Why is this? Say more about that.
What you're saying is your deepest intuitions are just wrong. So you should just find whatever your deepest intuitions are and do the opposite of that.
Well, she's saying that your fear shows you that deep intuition that you should follow. If you're afraid of it, means that there's something powerful there for you. Which seems a little backward to me.
Yeah, I mean,
but maybe that's why we're not successful.
Because your natural intuition would be that's danger, that like genuine danger. So
yes.
Don't play with that.
I mean, not everybody who's afraid of public speaking should be a stand-up comedian.
Okay, what if she's on to something, and if there's something you said, I would like to do it, but it really, I'm afraid of that. That really is the thing you should do.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because then
she's saying frightened, not wanting to do.
But you said two things.
I did.
I would like to do that, but
yes,
I'm
frightened.
Sure, I would definitely acknowledge that. It's like, yeah, you should dial into that one if I was going.
I was listening to this podcast.
I'm afraid to get pummeled by a 300-pound linebacker. That doesn't mean that I should go do that.
Yes,
that scares the crap out of me every time I watch a football game.
It's the fear's wisdom, right?
Exactly.
Yes. So maybe it's not everything you're afraid of. Maybe what she's getting at is there an activity that the notion of doing it is you want to do it
is both attractive and
you're really afraid of it. And people would say, well, if I'm afraid of it, I should stay away until I've overcome my fear. And she's saying, step in.
I don't sense you as someone who has like a lot of doubting self-talk. Michael, you've been
I have
open.
More, I have more of that.
More so.
The only difference is...
And so do I. So like there's a lot of fears that I wrestle with in my head and stuff. And I was listening to this one podcast, and they had this guy who was an ultra marathoner on there. And
I've heard a podcast like that.
And he said, I have an ultra marathoner on this podcast.
This one.
And
used to be. He
said, like, when you're running, you feel lots of discomfort. Your lungs are burning, your legs are,
Your entire body is telling you should stop this now.
It's been so long since I've ran, I can't really describe those feelings. But Doug, you're aware of them. Yeah. But the thing is that none of those things are actually happening.
Yes.
Your lungs are not on fire.
That's right.
Your joints aren't breaking. So part of that is that natural wisdom warning that this is discomfort. You should, be careful,
Yes.
But another part of it is just, those are feelings that are not really attached to the reality of what is happening. And so sometimes you've got to listen to those voices of like, oh, my leg is starting to hurt a little bit. Maybe I need to. Other times you need to push through those feelings of this is painful, that sucks. And that's the story of my life.
It's so true.
Minus the running.
When I started running 7 years ago, that's what I experienced finishing a marathon. There's a joke in marathons, they're 26.2 miles, and there's a joke that it's the 0.2 miles that kill you. and that's kind of true because something happens at the 26, which is that you only have a quarter mile to go, and you tend to kind of pick up the pace, or it can feel like, oh, we're still not done. I've reached 26 miles. I have watched and experienced it myself. So many people who in the last quarter mile or even half mile feel like they're going to die, right? They're just like, I don't know that I can take another step. The cortisol starts to rise in your body. You're nervous. It's just all of this. And as soon as you cross that line, and within 2 minutes, you're drinking a chocolate milk and posing for pictures. And the thing in your head was, you were nowhere close to death. You wanted
10
some
minutes
chocolate
ago.
Milk.
You were,
you wanted chocolate milk. Now, I've watched people who've been in car accidents and been there, and they really were close to death. And they're not drinking chocolate milk and having selfies with the Capitol at their back.
Right.
So this difference between what your perception of how bad things are right now and what you should be afraid of and am I at risk, it's a perception problem. She goes on, this scary one, the only thing she writes more words about than the one sentence that I read. She said, if there's something in you that feels like it's expanding and says, oh my goodness, this would be great, but I'm scared. I don't know if I can do it, but it would be amazing. Then I know my intuition is telling me yes. There's always fear, but if you are silent enough and still enough to listen to your intuition, you'll always go in the right direction.
I hear a lot of young people will say, my daughters, I don't do that. I'm not that.
Yes.
They've already have decided who they are in such a it's such a secure way that, like, oh, I'm a person who I don't eat shrimp or I don't, know, and it's like, well, who told you were that way? Like, am I making any sense at all?
Totally, yeah.
Like, we're so absorbed in our own personality of who we are and what we do or what we don't do. When we come up against challenging things, you're like, oh no, I'm just someone who doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Well, this is also just the core of therapy. Sometimes is just saying, yes, these are feelings that you have, right, and you are actually feeling them, but they're out of proportion to the things that are going on, and you need to figure out how to be a person who has those feelings and acknowledge them, but still not let that disable you, right? And so you can feel like, if I do this thing, I will die.
So in the natural health world,
and not say you shouldn't feel though. It's like, yeah, you should feel that way. Yeah. That's the way you feel.
But there's an interpretation going on all the time, right? So in the natural health world, they will often say your hunger cravings are an indicator of base mineral and trace mineral elements that you need. So last night, we had a very long day. We had a number of very long days. Michael and I drove across country, 48 hours of driving with a 4-hour sleep break in an RV with 3 people, like a lot of push. Then we got here yesterday.
If I was there, I would took like a bag of mushrooms, and I would have just enjoyed that trip.
Well, it was the virtual bag of mushrooms that you can buy junk food wise at Pilot and Flying J stops along the way. I can assure you. And at one point in Salt Lake City, a stop at a Belgian waffle shop, but that's gonna have to become a story for another day. But we pushed hard, right? And then we worked all day in a work day at Solomon's Porch yesterday. So Michael and I were both working hard. Then I went for a short little run last night, which was glorious and fantastic. And then last night, I really wanted to eat dark chocolate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So I had these pretzels.
Like there's some sort of mineral deficiency or something.
So, yes, this is the thing, that when you're short on certain minerals, especially B vitamins, that are really important to keeping your energy up, your body will translate that into what have you eaten or had that triggers your body with a similar response as you would have if you had that mineral.
Yeah.
So you can get these deep cravings for... And oftentimes it doesn't give you the minerals that's in there.
Oh, yes, yeah,
it can be a placebo kind of effect, and sometimes it does. So this being the point that happens emotionally, right? You have an emotional response to something, it seems to me, and that's triggered like I need chocolate, but it might actually be I need B vitamins or C vitamins or some trace minerals that I'm short on. And your body
or a hug,
and your mind is interpreting this desire to where can I get that? Where can I satisfy that deep internal body?
So it's like going into a shop and you're like, I really feel like I need Belgian waffles, but maybe I just need a hug from the clerk.
Yeah. Maybe I need some comfort. I mean, there was no doubt that those waffles were great, partially because driving as hard as we were and doing is discomforting.
Yeah.
So you move into comfort, and that's the thing about where your fear and what you don't want and don't like. But I don't like the idea that people say, and it's kind of rooted in this, and it's a bit in the Oprah thing, which is, well, do whatever the opposite is of what you think you want.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's
what
some
part
Michael
really was. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
And it's a common thing in Christianity too. It's like, okay, whatever you pray that. God, don't ever let me do this. That's, of course, the thing that he wants, because he secretly wants to torture you, and the universe wants you to experience as much pain as possible.
Yeah, that resistance you feel, that's your sinful nature rejecting God's desire for you.
I want to say one other thing about the 3 questions, though. So my kids are not no longer kids. They're grown-up people living grown-up lives. Mm-hmm. And
are they living their best life, Michael?
Well, that's the thing. Is that for me, the thing that I wanted to do with my life that I got paid for was to write computer software, and it was really super fun, and it wasn't hard to find work. But they don't have that. The thing that I love, people are dying to pay me money for, and I just need to get over my fear of doing it, and suddenly people are throwing money at me like Oprah. That's just not the 3 questions that people should be asking themselves. I don't think.
Yeah, that's right.
That is a superposition of I don't know what to be in that thing where if you just answer those 3 questions, you'll live in a life of eternal bliss. Sometimes the answer to those 3 questions has nothing to do with your life, and you need to figure out how to eat while you pursue the answer to those 3 questions.
Yes.
That's a more common
These are a paycheck
way of
involved that can
being,
get
right?
you-
Is
yeah.
like, here's what I do to eat that gives me enough energy to pursue the answers to these 3 questions, and my mastery in life is to weave those together.
It's no secret. I don't like discomfort of any kind. Any denial of happiness, I view as evil. But at work, I've been like this. Okay, this project needs to be done next week, and you're the guy who's going to do it. There's no one else who's going to do it. So, and then I'm suddenly like, no, I am not the guy who should be doing. But I've got to do this. I've got to push through what I don't like. Huge knowledge gaps of I don't know this shit. What you're asking me to do. So then I got to figure it out, and so it's like in that kind of workplace environment that that slackitude is. Yeah. It's like, well, you either do it or you don't work. And
are you starting to feel alive when you do that?
Well,
are you finding enjoyment now in that?
What kind
outcome?
of? So going back to like the runner who feels pain but really isn't in pain. That's all that is. That's all like my, lack of self-belief, going, ooh, I don't want to do this. You're going to have to stretch and do things that you don't want to do. But, it's like, okay, well, usually you have what you need to get what you need to get done.
Yeah. I saw a shirt someone was wearing in a run that I was on one time. On the back, it had saying, and it's become my saying for this period of time I'm in right now. Mm-hmm. And the saying was, you've got what it takes. Uh-huh. It's going to take all you've got.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
Yeah, that's a nice phrase.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of what you're saying. Like, yeah, it's not going to come out of your excess. It's going to come out of your.
And then when you're on the other end of that, you're like, oh, that was just a bunch of whiny.
Yeah, did it?
I was just being dumb.
Did it?
Or
in the morning with Doug and John and Michael.
I
am so not singing.
Hey, everybody, thanks for listening.
Yeah, hey, thanks for dialing in. And according to Doug's lukewarm apology, we may or may not be back. So.
We should vote whether people should accept Doug's apology, whether John should accept
Doug's
apology.
Or the abuse will just continue and continue.
It's once again the world will stay embroiled in what an apology.
Yeah, every time you lift your right hand, I flinch. I'm ready for the blow to come.
All right.
So are we still on?
No, we need a secret word. What's the word that people need to get to us? Pissed.
Okay.
If you can write to us pissed on that the secret word was pissed, we'll send you a gift because you listened all the way through the podcast.
Yeah,
we could send them a copy of Blame It on the Way.
Blame It on the Way Tenango.
Oh my, that's not worthy.
Blame It on the Way Tenango.
Look, if you're listening,
make them spell Way Tenango. Would that be better?
Oh, that'd be better. Yeah.
Okay, if you write Way Tenango to either John or me, I'm doing the me-I thing.
Yeah.
To John or me, we will send you a Blame It on the Way Tenango. It's the from the 4th best-selling inspirational poet.
Oh, it's cracking.
That's awesome.
All right. See you later.